It's the talk of the towns from coast to coast. Canada wins. There's a lot of extra flavor in it, beating the Americans, even though it was a bit of a nothing match. Tani Oluwaseyi scores his first goal for Canada. A great finish from Jonathan David. Where do you want to begin here? Because it seems if you just look online, like Canada has won the World Cup. That's not true. They factually did not do that, but they did beat their southern neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, I was slightly bemused by some of the reaction last night, to be honest with you. You guys, I thought, were more tempered in your reception of that win. I just logging onto social media, seeing some of the reaction elsewhere, it did kind of feel quite celebratory, and I can't say I feel that way coming out of this tournament. I don't want to put a downer on it. Like, there were positives here to be had. A win over the Americans is always satisfying and always matters, I think, for Canada. Individually, I'm sure we'll talk about some of them, but Moise Bombito, fantastic, continues to really show the sky's the limit for him. Alistair Johnston, great bounce-back game after a difficult night on Thursday. Jonathan David's back in form and scores an excellent winning goal. So, on and on, you can go through the list of some good performances, and I think you had one team that responded really well to the disappointment in the semi-final, and one team that responded absolutely dreadfully, and thankfully for us, the first team was Canada. I just don't really feel in a celebratory mood about the way this tournament has gone personally. This team went to Los Angeles to win a trophy, and they didn't do that. And to me, I don't see a victory over a really dreadful American side as compensation for that, or enough to make me feel really good coming out of this tournament. I actually think it's a little bit patronizing to this group of players, and a little bit small time, to be honest, given what this group, I believe and still believe, is capable of when it comes to CONCACAF tournaments these days. So, look, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm still broadly positive about the direction this team is going in. I'm excited for the Gold Cup this summer and another chance to win a trophy. But for me, I just don't feel content after that tournament and the opportunity they had to win silverware, lording it over the Americans as if that's enough and that's what we were there for. I don't think it was.
I agree. I agree with that sentiment. I found that the football on the field over the two games that was played by Canada was underwhelming. At the same time, I can say I never feel cheated on by the effort, the heart, the commitment by this Canadian team. They leave it all out there every time, and I think that's one of the main factors that draws people to this group. It's like they wear their hearts on their sleeve, and that's appreciated every time. But Ollie's right. It was a third place game. It wasn't for the trophy. It seemed like they were the team that had more something to prove to themselves in that third place game, because the United States, which made kind of dissecting the Canadian performance a little bit more difficult, the United States simply didn't show. It was an incredibly poor performance. So Canada beating a poor United States team, maybe if this happened 5 years ago, guys, I would have been more excited about it. Like Canada beating the United States any way, shape, or form in any game, it didn't really matter. But I think that we've kind of moved on a little bit forward from that. Beating the U.S. isn't anything new anymore. I don't even know if it's anything to brag about at the current, considering the current state of the U.S., which is more about them than it says more about us. So I understand the clamoring, the political nature off the field, what happened in hockey, Canada beating the United States matters. But I think I'm kind of looking more big picture here, and just to evaluate the Canadian performance, I just don't think it was great. I think it was more of the same, good individual performances, but the team evolving into something different or better, I'm just not seeing it right now.
So let's talk about those individual performances then. Tejan Buchanan, Mathieu Choinière, and Tani Oluwaseyi all come into the starting 11. Everyone else is the same for approximately 10 minutes until Alphonso Davies leaves the match through a niggle. He was replaced by Nico Segur. He went to right back. Alistair Johnston takes the armband and takes Alphonso Davies' position at the left. Central midfield seemed stronger. Of course, you got a goal from Jonathan David. As you think about these individual performances, Gareth, who impressed you?
I'll go with three players, but the first two for me are critically important. I've heard through various coverage other players being very important to the makeup of this Canadian men's national team. For me, if you take out Moise Bombito and if you take out Jonathan David, you're looking at a much different Canadian men's national team. Bombito at the back, he's played every minute under Jesse Marsh. A big block, by the way, right at the end of the match as well. For me, it was goal saving. Bombito's speed, his ability to make up ground, the aerial duels, being able to play a number 9 very tight, and his distribution has been very good as well. Just for me, he's irreplaceable in the team, and at this tournament as well, over these 2 games, was Canada's best player. Jonathan David, that was more like it in the game against the United States. Yes, he scored the goal, but he had 11 touches inside the opponent's area. This is where he's going to rely on his team a whole lot more. Despite Canada having upwards of 57% possession against Mexico, they couldn't get their most technical player in the game. Oftentimes, he was dropping too deep. He was too far away from goal. He is a technically gifted player. He's so intelligent, and he just needs to be on the ball more. And Canada needs to find ways to get him on the ball because, as you saw with the match-winning goal, which Tajon Buchanan gets a lot of credit for, that off-ball run that created the space for him, David is a difference maker. The third player I wanted to point out, just based upon commitment and commitment alone, is Alistair Johnston. He'll never leave you wanting more. I thought he had a difficult night against Mexico, but he bounced back. He was willing to play through a little bit of a knock as well. He could have said, well, I'm going to go back to Celtic. I'm going to make a business decision. He did not. He stayed on the field. He led with the captain's armband. It suited him. I just thought that type of performance has become standard for this national team, and that kind of commitment is infectious in all the right ways. So those 3 players for me were the ones that kind of stood out above the rest.
Oliver Platt, that's 30% of the outfield. You're allowed to double dip if you so choose.
No, I think Wills has picked the right players there. I think as kind of the top performers on the night and the ones that most deserve it. I'll go in a different direction just to give some different names. I thought the midfield in general responded well to what was a disappointing showing on Thursday night. I think it was the right decision by Jesse Marsh to go with Kone and Chouanier. You know what Eustáquio is. We don't need to find out by now. He can be relied upon game in, game out for Canada. I think it was the right call to give 2 different players an opportunity to start here. Chouanier and Kone, I thought both did well. Chouanier in particular gives you a set piece taker as well, which is crucial for this team given what we've seen recently. Ali Ahmed, I think, did himself no harm whatsoever. It's not perfect with Ahmed. He's still a young player. He's still developing, but I think he is always wanting to get on the ball and try to make things happen. And I thought he did himself a few favors with the way he played at this tournament. And then Tajon Buchanan, I don't think Tajon's in top form right now. I don't think he's full of confidence. I don't think everything is coming off for him. But when he is on the pitch, he's a threat. He has to be accounted for. He has the pace to get in behind. And I thought that played a big part in helping to unlock Jonathan David. And we saw it obviously on David's goal. So that was a big boost as well.
The defending was awful. There's no defending the defending on that Jonathan David goal. But Tajon Buchanan gave that back line something to think about by making that run. I feel like Canada need production from those wide areas. Ahmed created much more than any other midfielder or any other attacking player of the Canadian bunch over the course of those games. Just the ball in the final third, I don't know how much it's on the players, maybe the system, because they rely so much on the putting pressure on the back line and turning them over and getting it through, and playing in transition quickly, that sometimes just I'm not seeing the fluidity in the attacking motion of the players. And sometimes I'm thinking that's giving the attacking players on Canada something too much to think about. And they're kind of in between, do I play a ball here? Do I play a ball there? So I think they have work to do on that front, where players like Ahmed and Buchanan can shine even more once there's a little bit more clarity to the process.
Adding a few more stats on Moise Bombito, because I'm with Gareth Wheeler. He was marvelous. 85 touches on the night against the Americans, 91% passing accuracy. In defense, 5 of his 9 duels won, 5 clearances, 2 interceptions. The guy covered everywhere. And he, as I think Jordan Wilson especially likes to say it, and I know Gareth shares that sentiment, he lets Derek Cornelius be brave and adventurous, and he's that safe pair of hands. It's just shocking how we went from this position being Canada's Achilles heel for so long, and the questions about it, to it arguably being one of their strengths at the minute. Both Cornelius and Bombito, great tournaments. Not great tournaments for the Americans. Let's put that mildly. They're off the podium. They were humbled at home. Nobody from LA seemingly wanted to come to this match. It was barren for the national team. Mopo getting turned down by his star boy when he was trying to sub him off the pitch. Oh no, Mopo, the Americans finished fourth. Is that fitting, Ollie? Is that justifiable to say that they are the fourth best team in CONCACAF right now? Is the hierarchy the champions Mexico, Canada, Panama, United States of America?
On this evidence, yeah, like obviously they shouldn't be. They're more talented than certainly Panama, and you've seen obviously in 3 Nations Leagues in a row what this team is capable of in this region. But you can also argue it the other way and say that Panama's now won 3 competitive games in a row against the States and 4 of the last 5, which is credit to them. And I think Thomas Christiansen has probably done the best job of any coach in CONCACAF over the past few years to take that team where it is right now. They're a real mess. I think Mauricio Pochettino, after the game, in the comments I saw, tried to kind of be quite measured and take the tone down a little bit, and that's probably what he felt was needed at that point in time. But his body language on the sideline told a story. He was stood there just shaking his head for large parts of the second half. You saw his reactions, Christian Pulisic delaying a substitute so he could take an absolutely god-awful free kick before coming off. After what had been a really tough performance again on his part. So one thing you could also always say about American teams, whether they were more or less talented than this one, is that they had a certain spirit and fight and mentality about them. They had a real chip on their shoulder a lot of the time. When you think about players like Clint Dempsey and Michael Bradley and so on, this team is like the opposite of that. I don't think American supporters even like this team. Just in terms of the personality and the character of the group, let alone before you get into the quality and what they're actually capable of achieving. They've got a real job on their hands, I think, to find something to galvanize them and to turn this around before 2026, because it's in a real bad spot right now.
Yeah. We should point out they were missing a number of potentially key contributors to this group. Richards has to play at the back, Robinson as well at left back, Aronson, Pepe, Balogun. With that being said, for all the money that the U.S. Soccer Federation has put into the sport, development, facilities, what they're paying their players to represent their nation, for this to be the output, for there to be zero clarity, zero identity amongst this group, what they're all about and how they're going to play, it's shocking. It is an incredibly poor return on investment. I said they might want Elon to go after this, bring in Doge, because there's simply no efficiency here. And honestly, if it continues down this way and this group is regressing at a rapid pace, no matter who the man is, it's not just on Mopo, Berhalter, there was criticism around him as well. This could be an embarrassment for the United States entering a home World Cup. And I don't say that mildly. This is a time where the nation is putting America first. Well, after this tournament, it's America last. And there's very little reason to believe that this team will possess any type of threat moving forward, unless there's significant change. They try to make Pulisic the problem or that player the problem. Look, there's a bunch of really good players here that look like they're completely not engaged with the process. No one's connected. No one's playing for one another. And beyond that, there's no identity amongst this group. So they look rudderless right now. And there's plenty of work to do. Perhaps Elon has a solution, because that seems to be the way that they're approaching problems these days.
America fourth.
Elon on the touchline. So,
hey, to be fair, we as Canada have put Chris Hadfield on the touchline. So if space is the qualification, we can't rule it out entirely.
Not efficient.
Well, let's talk about money then, because the next question, Ollie, while it might seem a little bit like a reach, it also might not. Is Mauricio Pochettino's job in jeopardy? It's been about 6 months. He's making $6 million a year, double that of Greg Berhalter, who is laughing as the Chicago Fire off to a wonderful start in Major League Soccer, and he doesn't have to deal with the GGGs on social media anymore. So let's talk about it. Is it time for the U.S. to seriously consider removing Mauricio Pochettino from this post, or is that just impossible considering the money and what's at stake in the next year and a bit?
I don't think they should. I don't think they will. I think he is a top class manager for me. I've really like Mauricio Pochettino as a coach, and I would back him to be the one to try to figure this out. The more pertinent question for me might be, does he fancy it? Like if the Spurs job comes up this summer and they give him a call, does he say, I don't need this, and goes back to Europe? That would be the more likely scenario for me. I don't think they'll fire him or even consider it.
Well,
Gareth, really?
I'm just not sure. Like, there are certain managers that suit the international game. I never looked at Pochettino as one of those individuals. Like, his MO is going in depth, in great detail, inside the room on a day-to-day basis, to the point where it kind of becomes hard on certain players, and certain players over a period of time say, okay, enough of that. I can only be grinded down so much. He's got to work with players, when they come in for a window. He's got a week at a time with them. It just doesn't seem like it's playing to his strengths, to be honest with you. That's why oftentimes international managers are sometimes older, towards the end of their career, or are more of a spokesperson, or very pragmatic in their approach. That is not Mopo. I don't think that they spent the money. Give the U.S. credit. They thought that they went out and bought the best manager possible. I just don't think he's the best manager for this group or for this program right now. Let's put it this way. Mexico heading into this competition, it was said if Mexico don't win it, Aguirre's job was potentially on the line. Yeah. I'm not sure why that wouldn't be the case if the United States are going to take things seriously over the next 15 months building into the World Cup. There should be considerable talk and discussion about whether Mopo is the right man to take this group forward, and I'm not quite sure he is.